you win this weekend, I mean, you might as well go ahead and get your hotel reservations because they'll be in assuming they win a regional, they'll be in a super at home. And so, yeah, this weekend's the clincher.
Welcome into TexAgs Rewind here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. David Nuno, Ethan Jones, our stats guy, Callie Gardner there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. You had some stats for us, right?
Yeah, we were last segment of the show. We were comparing A&M to the top 10 non-SEC teams, or non-SEC teams in the top 10. So let's look at some pitching stats. ERA, probably arguably the most important pitching stat. We have a 3.89 ERA. The top 10 non-SEC average is 4.38. And then out of those teams, which is 6 plus us 7, we're second. East Carolina is above us. And looking overall at all the pitching statistics, the best two pitching staffs is probably East Carolina's and Duke's. We're probably clearly third. But when we take everything in comparison, overall consistency, I'd say statistically either us or Duke stands out the best team statistically. Obviously records, we're better than Duke, and then Clemson may be a little better than us. So the stats don't say everything, but I'd say statistically, us and Duke stand out as the two best teams.
Nice stuff, Ethan. Excuse me. Callie, let's go to you. What was your favorite part of the show?
I honestly think my favorite part was Brawny. I love hearing him.
Come on, don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Don't do that.
I'll go Kendall Rogers then.
Trisha Ford was on the show. I'm just kidding with you, Callie. She was great. We did Recruiting Country. We did Kendall Rogers and Olin Buchanan in the Go Hour. That and more. It's the Rewind. Check it. Let's get into some other numbers out here. Jace Lavalette is now third place for career home runs at Texas A&M. He's got 47 in his short career at Texas A&M.
In less than 2 seasons.
So does that mean he's going to hit 30-plus this year?
How many did you say he has this year?
I think he's got 26. Is that right, Nick? 26 homers on the year?
Yeah, I would bet on that.
4 more?
Yeah. Yeah, I would bet on that because I'm figuring, they got 3 games against Ole Miss and then 3 games against Arkansas. And then I don't know how many games they'll play in the regionals, and then I expect them to play at least 2, probably 2 in the super regionals, and then, be in Omaha for 2 weeks. Yeah, I can find 4 home runs in there.
The all-time leader for Texas A&M, Dalen Holt, 56 homers. So Lavalette is now 9 homers from being the all-time leader.
He might be the all-time leader before the end of this year.
You think he's got 10 home runs?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd bet on that. But
you wouldn't be surprised.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Because if he makes contact, anytime he makes contact, especially if it goes in the air, I'm like, okay, he made contact. It's airborne. He's better chance than not that it's going out.
Right.
I don't know. I really don't know this, okay? But I bet if you looked at how many hits he has, total hits, and then what's the percentage of his total hits that are home runs, I bet it's pretty high.
It's got to be high.
And if you throw it into extra base hits, it's probably astronomical.
But he gets on base regardless, right? Like he's really good at getting on base. Slugging percentage is very high. But when you think about what he's been able to do, and what was it, 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, he was behind Braden Montgomery in the home runs. Mm-hmm. So that little, he stayed. I wouldn't say he was hot during that stretch, but he stayed somewhat consistent while Braden had that little 0 for 18 slump. But it's good to see Braden get back to being Braden.
Yeah, I think anytime you have more information, it's good. Our team is very comfortable with them, and if you look at when we've played them previously, we usually do a pretty good job. And so at the end of the day, you're going to still have to show up and execute and win a ball game. But both teams, obviously, we played them in a 3-game series this year. I feel like we hit them pretty well. South Carolina Mississippi State. But both of them have improved. And so the key is for us to come out and play our game, right? Just like we've improved, they've improved, everybody's going to make adjustments. So coming out and just having good energy from the first pitch and all the way to the last pitch. But, we're going to be able to understand what their defense is capable of doing. We've seen all of their arms, just like they've seen all of our arms. So I think it's going to be a fun game, to be honest with you.
Can you explain to me a little bit of the KPI ranking system and I guess how they look at teams, and that's why I think A&M right now is number 12 on that list?
Yeah, so KPI is a little bit different from the RPI. It takes into consideration on the road. It takes into consideration your wins, but it doesn't weigh in your wins as heavy as the RPI does. And so it takes into, like I said, were you on the road, at what time of year, how close the game was, some other factors that I think are a little bit more true than maybe the RPI that's just kind of a numbers game. So I'm hoping that they utilize that at a high rate this year when they're going into that room. I think RPI-wise right now we're at 16, but KPI we're a little bit higher, like you said, at 12. And so, I think it's a better tool. I think you see a lot of sports kind of transitioning to that metric. And so we'll see, we won't know until Selection Sunday, but I do know if we, take care of business, especially on Thursday, and keep moving through this tournament, we will have a really good chance of hosting games at Davis Diamond after.
This staff does such a good job of covering their bases and just don't make a backup option in terms of timing. If you're interested in the kid, let's get him on campus. Let's get a feel for him. And then we can decide, do we need to make a huge push for him or not? So the kid DMs me and tells me he's on campus. I'm like, okay, that must mean there's something a little bit more than meets the eye with this recruitment in terms of past production and what they see him like in the future. So you start making calls around. From what I understand, the Iowa wide receiver coach has been telling people they were super high on this kid in the future in their program. And they thought he was going to go into next season as one of their premier guys on offense, which that's surprised me. And that, again, it's Iowa, but that's still Big Ten football that's won a lot of games. These guys know what they're looking at in terms of talent. Okay, that's an interesting data point. And then people have raved about him off the field, in the locker room, culture, the type of kid he is. And we know that seems to be something that this coaching staff is putting an extremely high value on. On top of that, he's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. So when you combine all of that, there's some real intrigue to this player. Mm-hmm. Now, does he make an immediate impact on next year's roster? I don't know that. Nobody really knows that. They obviously think that he has the skill set to do it, or they wouldn't be taking him. But they also think he has the skill set that can develop over time. And maybe if he doesn't impact the every down, every offensive snap production of next year's offense, he may be able to do it in the future. And he's also not going to be a problem if he's got to wait. You know what I'm saying? So he's a good locker room guy, good culture guy. So it made a lot of sense for them to take him at a position that needs help now and help for the future, I think.
I think LSU's going to need to go in the final weekend, needing to definitely win 2 or 3 and probably even need to sweep Ole Miss without a win in Hoover. If they win a game in Hoover, it makes it where you can only need 1 this weekend and 2 against Ole Miss. But, man, if I'm LSU, I don't want to leave that to chance. I don't want to go to Hoover having to win a game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We're talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. How desperate is Ole Miss this weekend? We asked you last week about LSU. Now it's Ole Miss's turn to be desperate.
Yeah, I mean, it's about as desperate can get. The biggest thing with Ole Miss is they haven't really pitched at a high level at all this year. They've had some injuries, but they just haven't been very good. The other thing is they find ways to lose. If you look back at the Auburn series over the weekend, they win the first 2 games. The final game, it looks like they've got it locked up. All of a sudden, wild pitch, and then another wild pitch, game over, they lose, and they don't sweep the series. So they have stretches. They have stretches where they can be a pretty good team. They're just like the most inconsistent team in the league. They'll play really well for 5 innings and then look like the Bad News Bears the rest of the weekend. So I think the biggest thing for A&M going into the weekend is you got to keep them from getting in the groove. You got to keep them from starting to feel pretty good about themselves long term. If they do that, they can give you some trouble. If A&M plays well, I just don't see how Ole Miss wins that series. And frankly, I would probably pick A&M to sweep it if A&M plays well.
And then they take care of this series. Are they a lock for a national seed?
A&M?
Yep.
Yeah, you win this weekend. You might as well go ahead and get your hotel reservations because they'll be in assuming they win a regional, they'll be in a super at home. And so, yeah, this weekend's the clincher. I think they're I think they're probably in pretty good shape no matter what. As long as they don't get swept, then get swept. But even if they lost 7-3, they win the Arkansas series, they're right back in the saddle. So yeah, this weekend to me is the clincher. If you win that series, you might as well just go ahead and say you'll be a top 8 seed, because you will be.
All right, Callie, tell the people what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about it, and watch us every day at 8 a.m. on the CW, YouTube, or TexAgs.
I like that. You like that?
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. We'll see you next time.